Hello, and welcome to Kroll's Security Concepts podcast, the podcast where Kroll security experts discuss the more prevalent topics in today's risk environment. Welcome to another Security Concepts podcast. Today's topic deals with providing security services to family offices and high net worth individuals, a business line that has seen unprecedented demand in recent past. To discuss this topic, we brought in two subject matter experts, Matthew Dumpert and Todd Keil. Matthew, you'll know, as he's a frequent guest on the podcast and runs our family office practice at Kroll and has spent a career protecting high-profile persons and understanding their risk. Todd is on the podcast for the first time as he recently joined Kroll after 30 years in government and corporate security to include Assistant Secretary with the Department of Homeland Security and Special Agent with the U.S. Department of State. One of these podcasts, we're going to have to get Todd in here to talk a bit about his career path, as I think the listeners will find it fascinating. Well, Matt, welcome back to the podcast, and Todd, welcome to your first podcast.
Jeff, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate being here, and I look forward to talking with you.
Thanks, Jeff. I think this is exciting. Happy to be here for my first podcast.
It's good to have both of you on here. Let's go ahead and get started with Matt. Can you give us a general rundown of what the program is, this family office, high net worth office program at Kroll?
Yeah, certainly. For a long time, we've been doing a tremendous amount of work for family offices and high net worth families or individuals. A lot of the times we contract either directly with family members, we contract through counsel, or directly with a family office. The contract part of it doesn't matter as much. The services that we offer is what's important to the listeners and to the family offices and high net worth families themselves. What we do is we help identify risks and mitigate those risks at all times. It can be a moving target. And those risks and the threat landscape for a high net worth family or a family office client, like I said, is a moving target. Every family office engagement we have is unique, it's different, and it's nuanced, just like any family. We adapt to meet the needs of the family and provide expert guidance and services to identify and mitigate all types of risks. Our ultimate goal is to help the family office navigate terrain that's unique to high net worth families, and leverage our expertise on a whole host of matters whenever they're needed. When you look at the depth and breadth of all of Kroll's specialties, we can be a really powerful and resourceful partner for our family office clients and our high net worth clients.
So what are the main areas, the topics of concern for family office clients right now?
So right now, what we're seeing for family offices and high net worth clients is some really, really sophisticated and targeted criminal campaigns. Certainly, many of your listeners will readily see the cyber threats. There's no question there's been an increase in cyber targeting across the board. When you talk about high net worth individuals, high net worth families, and family office clients, that threat landscape is even more dangerous just because they are such an attractive target for sophisticated defrauding schemes. Oftentimes they're thrust into narratives on social media. And then we've also, helped them with any of their corporate leadership affiliations. A lot of our family office and high net worth clients still have either seats on boards or they still have connections to a corporate element. And look, we've seen over the last couple of years, corporations be thrust into these narratives and their board members and their executives be targeted as a result of their affiliation with the corporate element. And we help our clients navigate all of those things. And then when you look at the greater depth of Kroll's offerings, whether it's investigative, whether it's cyber forensic investigations, or proactive cyber defenses, or even tax and valuation and merger and acquisition advice and guidance, these are all things that we help our private client, our family office, and our high net worth clients with.
Interesting. So, Todd, when we're talking about the family office client, is there anything unique in terms of the threats and the targeting that they may be facing?
the sophistication of the criminals, the sophistication of the people who are targeting high net worth families and family offices and family foundations, I think what that drives is that our clients need to be prepared. And it's important from our perspective, the earlier we can get in, even before there's an incident, if we can get in and do some sort of preventative work for the family offices, that helps us and helps them significantly down the line. One, to prevent things from happening, and two, should something happen, we're ahead of the game because we're dealing with very, very sophisticated adversaries.
Yeah, Jeff, the only thing that I would add to that, and Todd, those are excellent points, is, it's important to recognize and voice, and I'll say it now, that, high net worth families are operating in a completely different threat environment than you or I or Todd, and, most of the folks that we come in contact with every day. Todd mentioned the sophistication of their adversaries. Not only the sophistication, but we've seen, particularly with high net worth families, it could be estranged family members. It could be known entities, whether they're, part of the corporate affiliation or whether they're, acquaintances that they've met through foundation work, utilizing some inside information, some social networking, to target the high net worth families. A lot of the times we see sophisticated adversaries playing the long game. And by long game, I mean ingratiating themselves to the family, ingratiating themselves to the family office, holding a position of trust and confidence, and then using that access potentially against our clients. And those are things that we're constantly on the lookout for when we talk with our family office clients and our high net worth clients.
So it's kind of like what we always talk about, that insider threat and how it has so much access to, target our individuals. It's the same thing with families. If you have somebody that you have the relationship with, obviously they have a little bit more access and a little bit more ability maybe to do some damage. I find that all very fascinating that we're talking about essentially how these people might be targeted. But I know from experience that the family office type of client is typically very private. They don't really want to share a whole lot of information, and they like that anonymity and they like that privacy. So how do we go about providing these services and still making sure that they feel comfortable with how it's being done?
Jeff, one of the things I think that is just very, very important, and Kroll just has an enormous amount of experience in this, is everything that we do is extremely discreet. We understand the needs of a family office and high net worth families. And the approach we take is very nuanced and it's very discreet. We also obviously take into consideration the needs of the family. We take into consideration any sort of public relations element as we're doing our work. So we work very closely with the families. We work very closely with their support structures, be it a family foundation or their legal representation, and ensure that what we're doing is solving the problem, but also doing it in such a way that it remains very private and very discreet.
Todd, those are excellent points. One thing that I do want to underscore is while everything that we do is discreet, and everything we do, we try to remain behind the scenes and really unknown to those around the family office and our clients. Make no mistake that our job at times requires us to deliver news that maybe we know isn't wanted or will be received in a way that disrupts or upsets our clients, and that's what we're hired to do. I can give an example. We had a high net worth client who came to us with an indication that a fraudulent attempt was made on one of their credit cards. And our cyber forensics team was able to take a look at that and determine, actually through the tactics and the techniques of the adversary, that it wasn't your run-of-the-mill couple of $100 charge that was attempted by an unsophisticated criminal actor. It was actually more indicative of somebody who was targeting this person specifically. Now, I can't get into the details of how, but I can tell you our cyber forensics team's background and those who identified this hail from the Secret Service and their forensics investigative division. They know what they're looking at. They know the signs and the symptoms of a sophisticated actor, and they were able to highlight that immediately for the client. Now, again, nobody wants to learn that information, but when we see it, when we discover it, when we uncover it, We highlight it very quickly for our clients. So everything we do is discreet, but we also know that when we have to pull the lever and we have to convey important information to our clients to safeguard them from either harm or embarrassment, we will do that without hesitation or reservation.
Yeah, and they obviously have to have trust in your discretion and trust that, what you're doing is essentially to in their best interest and they feel comfortable with you. And I guess that makes that a lot easier to share that type of information with them.
Jeff, I think you actually touched on one of the key points to the Kroll approach, working with our high net worth family clients, and that's trust. Trust is extremely important. Kroll has the professionalism, the experience, the nuanced approach, the discretion that we talked about throughout this discussion. All of those are elements of trust. And trust is not something you can buy. Trust is not a marketing scheme. Trust is built and proven by action. And these families and our clients expect that trust, demand that trust. And that's what we bring to the table. In addition to all of our expertise and the tools and the resources we have, all of those are part and parcel to that overall trust, which is crucially important for our family office and high net worth clients. And it's something that Kroll understands and excels at better than anybody else in the industry, to be honest.
Yeah, that's right. And that all goes back to, the development of the relationship and something that we pride ourselves on. We have two eyes, two ears, and only one mouth for a very specific reason. When we engage and when we first meet and develop relationships with our clients, we need to listen, we need to see, we need to observe. We gather the family's preferences, their risk tolerance, and really understand the narrative of their family, what they want to convey, what they want to further, and everything that we do has to be in support of that. So we develop that trust, that confidence over time in a very genuine way. We really are looking out for the best interest of our clients. We will highlight vulnerabilities as we find them, and make no mistake about it. Discretion and confidentiality are underscored in absolutely everything that we do.
Excellent. So, Matt, kind of enlighten me a bit. What are the initial steps when you're bringing in this new high net worth individual or this family office? What do you do when you're bringing in these new clients to make sure that you have the proper information, that you have all the details that you need so that you can do your job properly? How does that typically run out?
Excellent question. And I don't know if there is a typical, as I said, they're all fairly nuanced. I guess I can break it into two different categories. There are really two different times where we'll be introduced to a high net worth family or a family office. One is if there's an acute emergency, if there's something compelling right now, if there's criminal activity afoot, if a family is being threatened, if they need protection for one reason or the other, if there's an investigative need. So that's one bucket. The other is being proactive. And this is actually, frankly, where more of our family office clients come from. It's recognizing the shift in threat environment. It's recognizing that things are changing. They have changed. High net worth individuals and families are being targeted now like never before, and with a level of sophistication that we've never seen before. So those are really the two buckets. Now, like I said, the two eyes, two ears, and one mouth approach, and that may seem fairly sophomoric to say it that way, but I really mean it. The early stages are all about learning. It's all about, learning the preferences, learning the desires, learning our limits, learning what the family wants, what they expect, and then being able to deliver that way. We have to know the dynamic and the environment that the family operates in. When you talk about a high net worth individual or a family office client, oftentimes there's multiple professional affiliations. There may be philanthropic work. And then, generally speaking, once we learn the priorities of the family, once we understand or get our arms around if there's an acute issue, an acute problem, right? That's where we thrust the all of Kroll approach, whether it's investigative, protection, whatever they need, we can come in and solve those problems and help them work through those. But then, once the waters have calmed a bit and we have a moment to breathe, we look at the overall threat environment around the family, and we like to conduct, if they haven't already, a threat assessment. We want to understand who may be threatening our clients, the capabilities of those threat actors, And if there's been any historical issues of criminal targeting, of exploitation, of duress, trying to embarrass or defraud or scheme. So that's part of our threat assessment. If they do have individuals that they know of that are trying to target them for nefarious intentions, we'll do a deep dive into those individuals and try to identify what their capabilities are. Try to identify, are they close? Are they proximate? Can they actually do damage to the family? And if so, how do we mitigate that? A lot of the times we'll look in the early days at the residences that our families occupy. We want to make sure that the security footprint and the security posture is in parallel with the threat environment. We want to make sure that based on that threat environment that we're adequately protected. And if they're not, we make recommendations on how we can improve security at the residence. And that's through technology, that's through physical security, and that's through personnel if needed in extreme cases. If they have an executive protection program or an executive protection detail, a lot of the times we'll come in and conduct an assessment of that. And that's assessing everything from bona fides of personnel to the way that they synthesize and analyze threat intelligence and how that threat intelligence makes it from the analyst to the ground operator to protect our principals from, again, that harm and embarrassment. And then look, there's all types of special projects. A lot of our family office clients have private aircraft. We can look into the safety and the bona fides of the crew, the facilities that they utilize, the aircraft. We look at vacation or non-primary homes, yachts, extensive travel. If children are at risk, we look at the threat environment around children and how they can be safeguarded. And then, we cannot ignore and spend a lot of time looking at the cyber infrastructure and the footprint of our clients. Cyber hygiene is critically important. And, if somebody is quote unquote sloppy in their cyber hygiene and maybe leaking personal information that can be used against them, we help identify that, educate our clients, and highlight how those pieces of information may be used in a targeting campaign against them.
Well, that makes sense. You kind of figure out what the issues are, what they may be focused on right now as their threats. You kind of understand what their overall portfolio is, so you know where those threats could be attached to. And then you go out and look at them and you make sure that they're secure when they move about and they do their daily activities. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I find it one of the more interesting topics that we do cover at SRM. So it's been really great to have you guys in to chat about this. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everybody next month.